What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man. And today, we are going to be talking about something that we have spoken about in the past,
Yeah,
but with the person at the center of that story.
yeah. And one of your biggest phobias also, right?
Center of, I mean, not him, he's at the center of
he's
one
not
of my
your
biggest
phobia,
phobias. Correct.
Yeah.
And he is none other than Mao Shen, who is with us in our studio,
Yes.
and he is an entomologist. And he recently made the news, I think a couple of months ago, when he discovered a species of cockroach in Singapore and named it after a Pokemon. Yeah, and we did cover that in an episode.
Yes.
And I remember back then, we were like, oh, it'd be so cool to talk to this person. One of our listeners said, they can put us in touch, and here we are, man.
Yeah, that's the power of the community. Like, not even put us in touch, like he was somewhat related to him. That's why we're here talking to him right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Fu Mao Sheng.
Fu Mao Shen.
Yes.
Welcome, man.
All right. Yes. Thanks for having me here tonight. Today.
Today.
Yes. But like what we're talking about, what you got in the news recently for was really for giving the new species of cockroach that has never been found in Singapore before, naming it after Pheromosa, right? The
Yes, correct.
Pokemon character. So the truth is, honestly, I never played Pokemon. And cockroaches not exactly the biggest fan ever.
Yeah.
So those two worlds colliding also was to me like, huh? But,
Yeah.
but what is it for you, Harish? Like what interested you?
I mean, I also have not played Pokemon. I know of Pokemon, but I hate cockroaches. At various points in my life, I have thought I've gotten over cockroaches. You know, when I tell myself, okay, what is this six-legged insect going to do to me? I am like hundreds of times its size. It's fine. I go through this whole process. The moment I see a cockroach, I turn into a little child and I freak out. So same thing. When, first of all, there was a story about a new cockroach being discovered in Singapore, which made me think, oh, fuck, there's still new cockroaches to discover. And the researchers from Singapore, it just felt pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, like, what was the significance of this discovery, that you really made it such a newsworthy thing?
The significance of it, I would say that when it comes to like the Pokemon fans, right? There's actually a group of us who actually feels that, we have come a full circle. Yeah, correct. Because I think maybe because of there's so many generations of Pokemon, I think certain aspect may have been lost that, how did actually Pokemon first come about? Yeah, and it actually first come about is because Satoshi was the one who actually enjoys catching insects. And from there, he said, hey, maybe let me get this experience to share with the others.
Sorry, Satoshi is the
Character.
No, that's the character's name in Japanese.
Yeah.
But the creator.
creator.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he created this game, Pokemon, and then he decided to replicate that same experience, like going out into the wild, to the grasslands, catching all the different animals.
So he liked catching insects in real life.
Yes, correct. That was his childhood.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So then, how did all the different Pokemon comes about, right? It's because it's actually inspired by the different animals that we see in our world. Yeah. So there's a lot of Pokemon you can see that can draw relations. Hey, this is very similar to the real life animal we have seen.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, when we want to name our new cockroach, we decide, hey, maybe we should name it after what it has been created. Yeah. So Pheromosa was actually also created, inspired by the real life cockroach. Right? And that is the cockroach that we tend to hate the most. The American cockroach.
Oh, and it's called Pheromosa.
It's not Pheromosa.
It's not, but it's based on that common cockroach. It's called the American cockroach.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
shit.
top feared cockroach globally.
Top feared in the sense of not because of disease or anything, just because of what it is.
It's a household cockroach.
It's the household cockroach.
So, so maybe just how do you get into entomology in the first place? Were you also like Satoshi enjoying like observing insects and all?
Or is it you like Pokemon first, and then you became interested in insects?
I actually enjoy looking at insects since I was in kindergarten school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so from there I was like, usually in kindergarten school, it's like, okay, it's time for lessons, right? Students will, before the lessons, students will go out to the playground, they play with each other, play balls or any marbles, so on and so forth. I'll be like, maybe near the bushes, near the trees, like looking for, okay, what new insect or what new animal I might find around the area.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and that's about the time when I first start to, enjoy keeping animals as pets. So basically your insects. Yeah. And then when it comes to a primary school, right, there was this Young Scientist Award. Right. So Young Scientist Award, there are like different awards, right? There's like young ornithologists, young zoologists, right? And there was one category called the young entomologists. So I thought, hey, this is something that I can relate to. So I pick up that project and then start to work on to meeting all the requirements so that I can get the award.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means like it was interested in insects first or animals, small animals in general?
I would say insects first.
Do you remember your first insect you saw that made you go like, wow, I like insects?
I would say it's ants.
Okay.
Yeah, it was ants. So I think that one tend to be very common around our parks, in our house. But let's say my first insect pet, I would say, is the cockroach.
Oh my god.
So actually, yeah, interesting. But like, do you ever look back and wonder why is it that, as a child you were interested or fascinated with insects, but then you see so many people, adults, grown adults, and everything, who can't even they just shrink up and shrivel when they see insects or cockroaches or anything like. Is there something you feel that it's something that is just a nurture thing, or is it like in our nature that some people are just more scared of like small creepy crawlies or what?
If you're saying to be more scared of insects or like saying cockroaches in general, I think this one is something I would say is like a kind of a generational curse or a generational trauma that's being passed on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I don't think I have that. Right. So since I was just being curious about nature around me, so insect was the one that the first animal I have in contact. Then from there on, I'm interested in how it eats, how it actually lives its life. So then the curiosity just keeps growing and growing.
I see. But when you say generational trauma, you mean like the parents are scared of insects. That's why they teach the children to be scared of insects.
Or they force feed you insects or something. No,
no, not really. So, if it took me a while to try to see and check with some of my students also, and they do have that particular phobia. Some of my friends also do have it. So I'm just trying to find out, exactly where this fear actually comes from. Whether is it something genetic or is it something that is learned behavior. But from my own experience, I would say that it's kind of about learned fear. Yeah, because if you were to look at it, right, you can come to babies, right? Yeah. When they first started out itself, they actually are fearless about what's around them. Right? To the extent, if you put any object in front of them, right, they are maybe quick to just take it and put it into their mouth. Right? They don't care whether is it poisonous or is it something harmful. You just take it without any fear at all.
Yeah.
But then, so if they are born into the world with this kind of mindset itself, so where does the fear of insects or say the fear of cockroaches come from? So I would say it's come from the way they actually mimic the actions of the adults. So if you're an adult in the area itself and together with the baby or the kid in the same area, they find a cockroach. The adult starts screaming away. So the baby was like, oh, when you see a cockroach, I should mimic the same action. I should start screaming. Yeah. So in a way, they have learned that, when it comes to cockroaches, I should scream and run away.
Okay. So it's learned, you're saying it's learned fear. Because recently, I was looking at images of isopods. And, they're deep sea creatures that have very almost like skeletal kind of structures, almost like giant.
Like caterpillars like that.
Yeah, like a giant bug almost. And I'll admit, it did send some shivers down my spine because it reminded me of cockroaches.
And then there's that Taiwanese restaurant.
Exactly. So that's what I was looking. So
one, I'm like...
Yeah, I don't know whether, so to me, then I realized, it's not about the small size of it and the fact that it might go in my ear or anything like that. It's just some sort of irrational fear about how they look that makes me react like that.
But at the same time, do you like lobsters?
I mean, I have eaten that, yeah.
But if a lobster was crawling, would you freak out?
Not as much, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
Right?
Because lobsters are also known as the cockroaches of the sea, right?
Yes, correct.
Right, because they are the bottom scrapers and all. But there's something, I agree, the isopod, I saw it, and then I saw it on top of a bowl. I'm like, why the fuck would anybody eat a bowl of noodles that has an isopod on top? So what you're saying is that are there any fears at all that are ingrained that we are born with? Or is everything something that is more nurture?
Something that is more nurture.
Something more nurture.
Yeah, correct. Because sometimes I think also when you look at something that's totally unknown to you, you know, you are the fear of the unknown, right? Something that's different from you, you start to feel like, okay, maybe this one could be potentially dangerous, right? Something that is could be harmful to you. You might just want to stay away. So maybe that is why it kind of like makes that fear to be irrational and something that you know stays with you.
So when you were growing up, there was no one in your house that was scared of cockroaches?
I think maybe my parents kind of like say could be, but they don't really show it, right? Or at least they say, when it comes to cockroaches, okay, let me just stay away, right?
Okay.
But they don't like start screaming or start having to shout, calling for help or like a distress call for.
Oh, no screaming.
Yeah.
Okay, no screaming.
So, but were they always, did people always like give you a very shocked face when you tell them that you had a pet cockroach and everything?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They were like, what? Why are you keeping a cockroach this out? Aren't they like dirty or they carry diseases or bacteria that could actually harm your health?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is always their first reaction. But afterwards, I explained to them, right, not all cockroaches are the same as the American cockroach or the German cockroaches.
Oh, so your pet cockroach wasn't an American cockroach?
If I remember correctly, it should be the American cockroach.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was how I got the pet, right? Was because one day I was like kind of a bit bored and curious. Then I saw something that's scurrying across through the kitchen. I was like, okay, let me keep that.
And how big was it? How big was it?
It was a very small one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so probably like say 1 cm in size.
Okay,
So
and then you caught it, and then like you kept it in like a glass jar or
in a
something.
container, and then I feed it pieces of apple.
Oh.
And then you saw it grow lah.
Well, because as a child, right, your attention is really short span.
Yeah.
So it's like within 2 weeks, okay, I thought I just let it go.
And it grew how big in
I have no idea. After that, I just let it go, and then I don't know where it goes.
Wow.
And then you will catch another one.
Then after that itself, I can't remember. I think I move on to another different kind of insect, like ants or your praying mantis.
I see.
Okay. Praying mantis, I remember in school also, some people had praying mantis, some people had spiders.
Yeah.
Then there was that beetle that you get as a larvae, and then it
the
molts.
mealworms.
Yeah, mealworms, correct.
So, but how does it go from, keeping pets and young scientists award or young entomologists award to like be studying it as a PhD and everything lah? Like in between all that, was there any pressures or something? Maybe you should think about doing something else that doesn't deal with insects and all. That your family talk to you and all?
That actually did come across my mind before. Right?
Okay.
So because when I see the Young Scientist Award, right, I see that these are the different potential jobs I can do in the future. Right? But at the time when I was young, right, doing work in the biodiversity field, in the nature field, is something not practical, right? In terms of like say our Asian culture. Like Asian culture, usually like Asian moms will say, oh yeah, you must become a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah.
But you want to become say an entomologist, I think some of the responses I get say, oh, you want to own a pest company or you want to do into pest control? I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I'm like,
do you know entomologists who have gone on to set up pest companies? It's like killing your love lah, right? You love all these insects.
Maybe somewhat in that sense is for certain entomologists. But most of the entomologists will actually just go on to do their research or go into like say, being a manager of a certain nature reserve and stuff.
So
yeah.
Actually, yeah, for those people listening and all, right, like who don't know what entomologist does, what is your day-to-day work like as an entomologist?
So day-to-day work itself is what I do is I usually go out into different areas of Singapore, sometimes outside the country, right, to survey like the different kind of insects that are present in the areas. Okay. Yeah. So my main aim is basically to document all the different kind of insects that we have in Singapore or let's say in Southeast Asia. Yeah. So you get to know, what are the different species that we have, because a lot of these insects are still undiscovered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like compared to, like, say, mammals or birds, we really know, all the different species that is being present.
Yeah.
Any new discovery is very unlikely.
Yeah. So, I mean, literally, you are like putting on like long pants and long sleeves, whatever, then going out to jungles and these environments and just sitting there and trying to catch insects, or what like as in what does it mean to survey the area for insects?
Actually, what you said is actually very quite true.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So just going to the area and then like going through the bushes, going through the grass, looking at the trees, using a net, going around catching them.
Oh, for
really?
real?
Yeah.
But you have a license to do it?
Yeah. So that one, we actually get the permit from national parks.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. So like how often do you go out?
I say in the past year itself, January on average, almost every week. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And Singapore, where's the hot spots that you usually go to go and find insects?
Usually the hotspot would be like say our nature reserve, like Bukit Timah or the Central Catchment Nature Reserve, right? Or even like say Sungai Buloh or Pulau Ubin. Yeah, areas that where it's kind of like off limits to the public. Those will be the areas that are of higher interest.
And you go as a team, I suppose.
Yes, correct.
Not just alone. You go there and then like with the net and everything and just catch insects.
That would be a bit similar that in being a Bear Grylls in going into some into the wild.
So that means like when you go in, that means you go off the paths that people normally go and you really go in.
Yeah.
And when you go in, like, do you have a hunch what you're looking for, or is really like, this place, I haven't surveyed this, let me go there and catch some stuff?
This is both.
Okay.
Yeah, I work in both ways also. So it's like, okay, I know what I want, right? Then I'll just try to look for it. Because certain animals will live in certain different parts or the niches of the environment, right? But if in case, like say this environment is still unexplored, right? Then maybe I'll employ a different kind of a system in order to get as much as possible to know what's in that environment.
Wow. So it's really like you kind of, is there a KPI that you set for yourself, like in terms of how many insects you want to survey on this time you go out or what? And how many hours at a time do you do that?
I mean, on average, I would say I can take up just one day itself to do the survey. Sometimes we also carry out into the night also.
Oh, okay.
Because there are some of these insects that are actually nocturnal.
Yeah.
Right. So they only come out during the night. So we want to see, what's the difference between the daytime as well as the nighttime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but then there's no like, okay, I must catch I must find a certain number of insects on this one trip or anything like that.
Not really. As long as we get some insects itself, then we're good. Maybe it could be something different, something new. But as we go along to the survey, we also can get an idea on how like the population may have changed over time. How is it being affected by the weather or affected by the environment, depending on what kind of environment we are looking at, or maybe is there any human factor that might actually impact their population.
So if you had to like label a guess, like what percentage of insects in Singapore remain undiscovered? Okay,
so I think at this point in time, we roughly have about, say, 6,000 species of insects.
Identified in Singapore.
Identified, right? But not all of them are, say, name species. So we just know that this is a potential new species. But we project maybe it could be about 15K or even more of the species of insects we have just in Singapore.
So it's like 30% essentially what we have now, like the ones that have been identified, potentially.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So there is a lot of room for discovery and finding new things. Wow.
And I mean, Singapore is very, very biodiverse, right, compared to other countries?
Yes, it is. Because we are in the tropical zone.
Rainforest.
Correct.
And like, how often do new species develop?
Okay, developing or say having to describe new species is not going to be an easy path also. Yeah, so like say for the Nauticola pheromosa, the new discovery itself, right, we kind of have to compare to like other species, right, and these other species, right, can be found in other countries. So in the past, usually people, what they will do is that they'll go to, like, say, other museums, other institutions, right, to look at species and make comparison, whether is it the same or are they different.
Oh, I mean, what I meant was like, let's say the total number of species, assuming it's like 15,000, right? Is there like some sort of stat that says over time, with 15,000 species interacting, there will be a background creation of new species? That means in like 10 years, it'll be 16,000. In 10 years, like every generation, there are new species being created as we speak.
That is actually a good question. It's actually a possibility, but that one will still remain as a big question for now.
I see.
Yeah, because if you want to look at, say, how animals evolve over time, right? It's likely that insects can evolve faster than the other animals, right? Because of their lifespan is actually shorter. So it's potentially, maybe after times because of climate change, right, or global warming, with the environment changes, right, insects will adapt. Right? So in the adaptation itself, maybe certain insects may look a bit different from the past. Yeah.
So is like do you have a favorite spot in Singapore where you find the most or just something about that whole experience is very zen, is very calming, where you have the highest chance of finding something new, or you don't want to say because people listen and then they go there?
I think people will do know that usually, like say our nature reserve like Bukit Timah and the Central Catchment, this will be the main hotspot. Yeah, correct. So those are the ones that are still in a way largely unknown to us scientists.
Really?
Yeah.
So since you talked a little bit about it, but the discovery of the
Nocticola
pheromosa. Like, can you just walk us a bit through like how that happened? Because I read that there was some also some involvement from some overseas colleague as well. And like how did that whole discovery happen?
From the time you went there, you saw the cockroach and then
So it started out in 2016 when we wanted to do a insect survey in Bukit Timah Nature Reserve.
Okay.
Right, because people have known, okay, we have seen butterfly, we have seen some beetles, but what are the other insects that are being present there? So we decided to do a survey, and then we have about 1 year plus of survey of the insects. And from there, it's like, okay, we get to know, okay, what are the different ones that we have not discovered. So for me, because I started off having to work on cockroaches as well as termites also. So from there, I thought, okay, I might have a stronger focus on what kind of cockroaches might be present in Bukit Timah. So along with a student of mine, so we work on it and try to see, this particular cockroach looks a bit different from the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So the one thing that struck me out was that this cockroach is a little bit hairy compared to the other cockroaches that don't have any hair on them.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but because I was still kind of new into this cockroach taxonomy itself, right? So I thought, okay, maybe let me share it with, online, so that if in case any researchers who work on cockroaches, they can actually say, come and have a look in this and work with me on, say, whether is it a new species or is it a species that has been discovered in other countries but not, say, discovered in Singapore. So it was only about, say, 1 or 2 years later itself, I received an email from Mr. Christian from Philippines. Right? Then he told me, say, hey, this cockroach looks very interesting. I want to have a look at it also. So that was when we start corresponding to each other and then try to share information about this cockroach. Yeah. And then he, together with his expertise, because he has been describing a number of cockroaches for a number of years already. So from there, he actually compared with other species itself and found out, hey, this one doesn't match any of the described species on a global scale. Then we said, then we talked about it. And then along the way, we found out both of us actually like Pokemon. Then I was like, there's a strange coincidence. Yeah, so it was like, then we thought of the way, okay, you see, it's potentially a new discovery. Right? What should we actually name it after? Yeah, so we had a few ideas or so, but then we feel that it's not going to be impactful. So one thing in common that we both share itself is that we do know that, we say, compared to other insects like, say, butterflies, dragonflies, right? They're all well known, right? They are charismatic, or let's say they're actually much more popular among the public. But when it comes to other insects like cockroaches, people tend to be more fearful, right? And then there's always that sort stigma saying, no, cockroaches are all bad, right? People are ready to take out flamethrower and just burn any cockroaches they see. So we thought, okay, maybe we should try to change the perspective of the cockroaches. So we thought, since we both really like Pokemon, and then we know how Pokemon actually originated, we thought maybe we should actually name the cockroach after a Pokemon. Yeah, I think this was also kind of like prompted when there was the discovery of 3 new beetles in Australia. So it was named after the legendary birds Pokemon. And then we thought, let's do something similar. So we thought of like, okay, which Pokemon should we name it after? So we were like looking through the entire Pokédex list, and then we find, maybe we should name it after Pheromosa, since Pheromosa was first inspired by cockroach.
Wow.
But also because Pheromosa has those like wings or I don't know what you call them, but they also kind of look like the cockroach that you discovered as well, where the wings are sort of like a bit lifted from the body and a bit translucent and everything, right?
Correct. So it's not just the how it looks, right? Also, it's because of the actions also. Right. So in the Pokemon series, Pheromosa is known to be very quick. Right, it always scatter around. So when we see our live specimen of this Nocticola cockroach, we thought, hey, the behavior is very similar. So it kind of like they tell us, we should actually really name it after Pheromosa.
And how big is the cockroach?
Okay, I think this is something that most people actually do not know, or at least say in the media, they don't really give a proper description of it, right? So the American cockroach that we see at home, right, is probably, let's say, maybe in, say, 3 to 5 cm. Right? It's quite big. But this cockroach that we see is only less than 5 mm.
5 mm?
What?
It's very tiny.
Oh, wow.
Less than 5 mm?
Yeah.
Well, that's tiny, man.
What?
How do you even see it and like how do you even see it in the in the jungles or whatever, on the nature reserves, such that, okay, that's like, I'm going to catch that, like,
So,
it's just sitting there, or
I think it's, we base it on like, hey, we have known that there's a particular group of cockroaches around here, and we get the idea, okay, what is their general size, and then where they might be actually living. And from there, we can actually zoom in, okay, this is actually the potential location where we can find them. So your keen eye, then we look, hey, there's something scurrying out. Maybe there's a cockroach. Catch it.
Oh, so it's not you take like one scoop, you take a bunch of leaves and all, then you go back and look. No,
That's actually another method we also use.
But this one, literally, you saw it scurrying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
That's
my
less
God.
than 5 mm.
Because
Wow.
when Terrence asked, like, oh, do you see? I was like, Terrence, come on, they probably just take a big bucket, take a bunch of leaves, and then go back and then
Sift
But you actually look for something scurrying.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
shit. So it's less. Yeah, none of the articles mentioned that.
Yeah. None of the articles actually mentioned how big or small it is.
Do you have any theory why?
I have no idea. I think it's just trying to sensationalize the news itself.
They don't want to sensationalize the news.
I have no idea.
As in, if they said that the cockroach was that tiny, maybe
Then people will be like,
oh, you know. But if they imagine that it's a bigger one, then they'll be like, oh, wow. But actually, just curious, like, how does this discovering a new species and then officially naming it work? Like, is there, like, I'm supposing that you authored a paper about it and then you just declared it as a name, lah. But given that this is like a, Pokemon is like a Nintendo thing and all that, do you have to check with the creator himself or the company, Nintendo?
So we
about
actually
using the name?
follow the footsteps of others who have actually named a new species after the Pokemon also.
Okay.
Right, so we just follow the footsteps of them, then they just name it. Okay, fine.
What are the footsteps?
So I think generally is because what they do is going around, see, okay, is this something new itself, right? Will they gain any profit from it? But no, we don't gain any profit from having to name it also. So it's okay, just go ahead yourself. But I think usually when it comes to Pokemon, right, if you say profit from them, right, from the naming or something else similar, right, I think that's where things may get a bit more conflicting or in a bit of a hassle.
So that means, like, is it like I'm sure it's like a badge of honor as an entomologist to have discovered a new species, right?
Actually, for any zoologist, you discover something new is something of a badge of honor for us. Really.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
So now, like, is it? Have you been added to a new WhatsApp group of people who have like discovered a species or new insects or anything?
Not. There's no any group that I know of.
Clubhouse, join the
Clubhouse. Yeah, is there like any specific card you get that you have named?
Oh no, we don't.
No.
Yeah.
But sorry, that means so that what you're saying is that it could have been named like anything else up to the two of you, lah. Basically, the two of you could dictate entirely what it was. What's the name of the cockroach?
Correct.
Like, is there any clue what other names you were considering?
The other name that we actually did consider was actually naming it after the first director of the museum.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
correct.
Okay. So you can name it after people, and
we can name it after
people,
but we don't name it. We cannot name it after ourselves.
Oh, what cannot?
We can't. So if you want to have it to name after yourself, right, you need to get somebody else to do it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's not it's just an unwritten rule kind of thing, is it? Or is it
something like that?
Okay,
yeah.
Or you can name it after your mother or something like.
Yeah.
Okay. Just not yourself.
Oh.
Not
Yeah.
oneself, name oneself.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
So like when you said the other researcher emailed you because you had put some pictures out online. But throughout the whole process, you had this cockroach under observation.
Captivity. It's science, bro. Science.
Not say well, we do have it, but most of the time I usually deal with the dead ones. So I don't deal with the live ones.
Got it.
Yeah, correct. So that is actually how we go about doing our research.
Oh, okay. So that means when you found one, you found a few lah.
I found a good handful of them.
A good handful. So what do you remember that day? How did it feel? Were you like, wow, this is super cool? Or was it too small that you, without a microscope, you couldn't observe? Or
I think I know that, okay, this one I know is the insect. But I need under the microscope itself, then I can kind of confirm that it's a cockroach. Yeah, but I was still new to it, but I do know that the potential that it could be something very significant in the future.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you had a bit of like...
I had a bit of inkling, but that time itself, I was still more focused on termites. Yeah, so I kind of like, okay, maybe just keep this aside first, right? Maybe once I get in contact with, like, say, an expert who can work on it, then I can work with him or her for the discovery.
So how could you tell that you said you could tell it was a cockroach only under the microscope? Like what is the defining characteristic of a cockroach?
There are actually a few features, basically on like how their head and their eyes actually look like their legs. So these are kind of the different features to differentiate from the other insects.
Oh, yeah. Like at a high level, what are some of the things? Not to say I'm going to look at the next cockroach that I have to...
Okay, so I think one of the most prominent feature, but sometimes easily overlooked also, is that when you look at insects itself, right, how the head and the mouth actually are positioned is kind of like downwards or forward.
Okay.
Right? But when you look at cockroaches, their head, right, in the normal position actually points backward. Their mouth is actually pointing backwards towards their abdomen.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a different position itself, right? And then that's actually a defining feature, would say, to differentiate from other insects.
Is it because they like dig and they need to sort of eat from the ground and all that a lot more? That's why
that one is still
debatable.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
But when it comes to cockroaches itself, it's actually one of those groups that is still highly understudied.
Because just like...
Nobody wants... Maybe the only thing when it comes to cockroaches, I want to kill them, but not study them.
So when you do see like in public or like, extended family, you go to the cockroach, they spray the cockroach, does a little part of you like die inside?
Okay, so I can actually kind of like draw a line between which ones are the pests and which ones are not. Yeah. So for those that kill at home, right, I'm like, okay, fine, just go ahead, just kill them all. Right? Because no matter how much you kill them, right, their species will still be alive.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm okay with that. But it's the other groups of insects itself, like, that are actually confined to our, like, say, our nature reserve, right? They cannot come in contact with residential areas. Those are the ones that are a bit more concerned that, with regards to conservation, I want to make sure that these species still continue in the days to come.
Yeah. I see.
So then how did the American cockroach branch off? Are they like even does the whole cockroach family look at the American cockroach and be like, hey, you spoil market, you go and make everyone scared? Now, how did that branching out happen? Like what makes them so domesticated in that sense as opposed to other cockroaches?
This one, I think it goes back many, many years ago. I think probably when humans start to have formed their own civilization.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that one is still, I think we have to go back into the historians, right, to get an idea on how it actually comes about.
I see.
Yeah. So this cockroach itself, the American cockroach, right, follows wherever humans go. Right, you don't really see them in our nature reserve. So they are actually adapted to living in the human areas.
Yeah, because one thing when you say you went to the forest to look for cockroaches, my first thought was like, are there cockroaches in forests? But it's the wild cockroaches.
Yeah.
So American cockroach is really like, it's almost like dogs. They have grown to live side by side with humans.
Yeah, correct.
Oh.
Evolution. Wow.
Also, you don't find them in jungles.
You don't really find them in jungles. At most, maybe say the nature parks that's near the residential areas. But other than that, no.
And the reason is because of what they eat or
what they eat.
What do they eat
so
typically?
For the American cockroach, right, you just eat anything that the human eats.
Is it?
Yeah. So they're basically like humans in insect form. Or maybe in a more worse state, anything that's rotting, as long as something that's edible, they'll eat. Yeah, so, and because us humans, we eat a lot of stuff, right? And at the same time, there's a potential food wastage also.
Yeah.
So all this will become like food for their cockroaches.
And feces as well and all that.
Anything that is potentially an organic matter for them, they'll eat.
Oh.
I see.
So then, when you hear the things that, cockroaches will survive a nuclear holocaust and all that, is there any truth to that? Like, are they that hardy?
They are that hardy itself.
The American cockroach or cockroaches in general?
I would say the American cockroach, but I guess you can also apply to the other cockroaches also.
Okay.
Yeah. So the American cockroach will be the most hardy among the cockroaches. Correct. Since they actually adapted, to survive like potential insecticide, pesticide, chemicals that might kill them. Right? Anything that you throw at them, right, to try to exterminate them, right? If one of them actually survive and populates, right? Then, those are the ones that, I am being adapted to survive that potential killer. Yeah.
So they also evolve quite fast, is it?
They evolve quite fast. I think insects in general, they actually evolve quite fast.
It's like a nightmare, yeah.
So, I mean, we talked a bit about like the discovery, and it was very exciting for you and everything. But since that discovery and the media buzz about it and everything, you did mention earlier that I think your students have given you a nickname of the bug eater, is it? Or
the bug catcher.
The bug catchers.
Yeah.
Bug catcher.
Different. Yeah, but what else has changed since you made this discovery, lah?
I think there's not really much changes. Just
Okay.
people know that it's kind of a big buzz right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's slowly dying off also.
I see. So, but I mean, like, as in, has the international community of people interested in cockroaches, like, they reached out to you and congratulated you and welcomed you into the fold and everything? Or is there even such a community?
I mean, there is a community, but generally they just see it as like a normal process on like, you discovered a new species. But it's actually the Pokemon fans who actually congratulated me and Mr. Christian that, hey, you named it after the Pokemon Pheromosa.
Yeah. But has it made Singapore a more attractive destination for people to come and observe insects and all this? Like how now, like, Coldplay coming to play in Singapore 6 days in a row. Oh, Singapore is very attractive. Then Taylor Swift also coming. Does it do that for cockroaches also after what you did?
I am not sure. That one still remains to be seen.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think you still have that barrier to overcome. Cockroaches are bad, are pests, right? So you want to change that perspective. It's going to take time.
I see.
Yeah,
So
probably it may take a few generations.
Oh, okay.
So, Suren, why do you think it's important for people to study cockroaches? I know you're saying it's not the most popular insect to study, but like from the more you study, what is the magical thing about cockroaches that we are all missing, and why you think there needs to be more study?
So for cockroaches, they are in the ecosystem. They do play a part in nutrient cycling. So especially with regards to the wood, the nitrogen, right? So and if I were to put in the taxonomic terms, like, cockroaches are not just the cockroaches, but also include the termites.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're actually very important to make sure that our forests, they are fertile, they are healthy. Right. So without them itself, usually when it comes to, say, breaking down of wood material, because most of the cockroaches the wild cockroaches are actually eating woody materials or say plant materials. So without them itself, right, it's going to take a long time for this organic material to rot, to decay, and to break down. So having cockroaches and the termites together, they will actually speed up the process. Yeah. So otherwise, if without them, I think you can foresee in the future there's a lot of rotting wood around, and then it's going to be very smelly, right? And things are going to be a bit more, say, hazardous, in terms of, like, say, there's a wood material here that's going to take a long time. Then the soil is not going to be fertile. You won't get our forests. Yeah.
But is there anything in particular that you find like fantastic about cockroaches? Because like ants, we hear there's an ant colony. There's so much study like, the ants, they work in communities. And anything about cockroaches that you've noticed that is like a little known fun fact that awes you?
So along the way, right, other than this Nauticalia pheromosa that I found, there's another cockroach I find what we know as the pill cockroach. The pill cockroach.
Okay.
Yeah. So why it's called a pill cockroach is very similar to the pill bug. Right. I mean, in terms to defend itself, it rolls into a ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one thing unique about this is that usually when people talk about cockroaches, they always say, oh yeah, they are black, they are brown, reddish brown in color. Right, because this is actually being projected by your American cockroach or say the German cockroach. But this pill cockroach is actually under the light itself is actually iridescent.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that actually fascinates me that not all cockroaches are just black and brown. Some of them are actually pretty colorful also. Yeah, and during my research for it also, I found out this cockroach is actually very similar to mammals, to us humans.
Yeah,
they suckle their young.
Really?
What cockroaches do that?
Yeah, apparently.
There's cockroach milk or something, right?
Yeah, that was a different cockroach, but that one we also do have that species in Singapore too.
Okay,
but before that, so we get to learn that this is the only cockroach among the other insects that actually suckles their young. Yeah. So it's actually very similar to mammals. How we actually suckle our own babies itself. So it's like, hey, this is interesting. A cockroach can actually in a way have a same reflection of humans or say mammals in general. Yeah, so but that how it was being discovered was because we look at the mouth parts and the body parts of the maternal cockroach and the babies, and we see, hey, this is how it matches. Then this is how they actually grow up before they start going out on their own. Yeah.
Oh, so that means they drink an equivalent of like some liquid secretion.
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
So that cockroach has nipples, lah.
They don't have nipples, but there's a certain outlet for them to produce that fluid to feed the young.
I see.
Wow.
Well, does that make you more like you look at cockroaches, and does that like make you feel like they've more of a soul and they're more human like than you ever imagined? Like,
So
do you
far,
look at them
no.
differently?
So far, I don't have that.
Okay.
I just still kind of curious, what kind of other behaviors that they have, what kind of development they actually go through also.
Got it.
Yeah.
So are they more like, because when you look at a dog, say, the dog has eyes, can look at you, you can look at it, and there is that sort of connection. Like with insects, do you think that in some way you see them similarly? They're both organisms, or do you feel like insects are more mechanical, almost like little robots?
I would see them more as like animals and organisms rather than robots. Yeah, so it's very similar how you see, like say, a kid sees a pet animal like a dog or cat, right? Curious about trying to coexist with it, right? What does it do? How you play with it. So for me, I'm also like kind of see that from same perception. So when it comes to insects, right? How does it grows, right? How does it interact with the environment, right? Who are its predators or who it actually might parasitize, so on and so forth. So I want to know, this actually full life cycle, actually how it grows and continues the next generation.
I see. But are there any examples of a human-insect connection, like, you see in mammal pets?
Human connection?
Like you, I don't know, it recognizes your scent or recognizes your voice or something like that.
Or the cockroach, you let it go, and then after that it comes back to you at the end of the day, that kind of attachment.
So far, no. I don't think so.
Oh, no.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
What are you thinking of a pet?
I was just thinking like a pet cockroach. Because, it is one of those things that even I've also thought about my whole fear of it and like why. And then, now there's a whole movement towards like eating insects.
Yes.
Which we also understand is something that you are interested in.
Yes,
edible
correct.
Insects, right? So where are we on that, and how, or like what made you get interested in it, given that you study insects?
So I think it first started off because of this line, say, you are what you eat. So me being an entomologist itself, right? So I search all the different kinds of insects, maybe say discover new species. And then along the way, it's like, maybe something else I need to do is to eat them also. To get a better understanding of what I'm studying.
Oh.
Yeah, so I thought, along the line, you are what you eat. And then I was like, okay, I get to know from my colleague, he brought back some bamboo worms. And I thought, okay, that was my first time I tried. And then I thought, hey, this is actually not so bad. Yeah, but at the same time, in parallel, also, I also get to see in the future, when the human population grows, right, there is going to be more competition for food, right? So I was like, hey, what other alternative sources I can get? And now I think, hey, actually protein from insects may be a good alternative source. So I thought, okay, maybe I should try to get myself adapted to eating insects in the future. So I thought I'd try to all the different kind of insects from ants, crickets, grasshoppers, water bugs, scorpions, and tarantula also. Yeah, so I thought, okay, maybe get used to it, get to know which one I like best, which one I don't like best. Because usually when it comes to food, right, there are some food that I don't want to eat them because they are disgusting or they don't really fit your taste buds.
Yeah.
So I get to know which insects itself I prefer, which ones I don't like.
So which one's your favorite? What's your jam?
I think in general itself, I wouldn't say I have any favorites.
Okay.
But I say if I can go for it first itself, I will go for I think general maybe crickets because they taste more nutty, like peanuts.
Okay.
Right? But the other one that will be not generally, it's not quite an insect, but your tarantula, right? It tastes like crab.
Crab.
Really?
Yeah, it tastes like crab.
Oh.
Even
then
Gordon Ramsay also has tried before, and he also did mention, hey, it tastes like crab.
Then why do people eat it? Like just sort of protein or what?
It's another alternative source for protein.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So usually, because the early humans, right, usually stay in the forest, right, having to seek out for protein sources for other animals is not that easy, right? And the most, available form of protein is your insects.
Okay.
Yeah, so then that's actually how they actually go about eating insects. Then this has actually been passed down through many generations of humans.
So where have you tried all this?
I got them from Thailand.
Thailand.
Yeah.
So
okay.
when you buy it, I mean, like you try it in Thailand or you
Both. But I first actually got them to be shipped to Singapore.
and then you cook it yourself.
They are actually already grilled or say oven baked already.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's already pre-packed and ready to eat.
Oh, ready to eat, and you can get it
Wow.
from like very niche suppliers or pretty easy to get in Thailand.
I would say it's a pretty niche supplier,
Okay.
right? And this one is kind of it goes ships to other countries also, so it's kind of has international shipping.
So when you come, it's basically a big snack like any other snack you open, and then like the tarantula, it's in pieces or it's.
Oh, the tarantula is actually a whole. It comes in a can.
It comes in a can.
Yeah, in
And
a
it's
can.
baked.
I would say maybe about a palm size. Yeah, so that is how big it is, lah.
So what is multiple in a can, is it?
Just one.
just
Apparently, tarantula is actually one of the more expensive edible insects to be eaten.
So it's
crazy.
grilled or baked already. Or
Yeah, it's baked,
and
oven
it's
baked.
crunchy.
Do they give you like, you put some butter on it or something like that to make it taste better? Or is it just
What they
eat it?
did, it was actually to just sprinkle some salt for it. Then the rest of it is up to you on how you want to cook it or put into your dishes.
So these tarantula that you eat, they are harvested or like they're farmed?
Yes, correct.
Oh, they're farmed in Thailand. They're
Yeah.
farms. Oh, and I'm guessing it's a particular species of tarantula.
Yes, correct.
So with all the hair removed already lah.
Well, when you cook it yourself, right, the hair will get burned off.
Oh, okay,
Oh.
okay. Yeah. So, but in recent years, I think Singapore as a whole has been looking at this space of like eating insects, right?
Right.
Like where are we at in terms of like, making this a bit more common and offering it to more people who want to try it also lah.
So SFA has already approved the 16 species.
Okay.
Right. So I think probably the sale of insect could start in the later half of this year.
And the 16 species are like what?
There are crickets, grasshoppers, silkworm, as well as some beetles. Yeah.
Okay,
correct.
but no tarantula.
No tarantula at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I suspect is because tarantula together with scorpion, they are actually venomous animals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe at this point in time, it's not really not to introduce too many possible implications, right? So maybe that was not the least.
I see.
Yeah, so they go with something more common. Usually, the crickets is the most common kind of edible insects.
And what sort of styles have you seen it being cooked besides grilled or baking?
Some of them actually will fry it, right?
Okay,
So most of the time they always tend to fry it or bake it, but some of them will come into like a brine solution. Yeah.
A brine solution.
Brine. Wow.
Oh.
But so how do you think like actually what so you've been trying this bug eating out yourself, right?
Yes.
Like and overall, how do you think the majority of the public in Singapore will take to these new types, this new protein being introduced?
So I think well, at least online, most people are like kind of like averse to eating them, right? Yeah, because when it comes to insect, people are like, I'm having second thoughts or third thoughts about it, right? Because insects are like pests or something. But with some of the survey I have done together with the museum also, we can see that most people are actually open to trying.
Open to trying,
right? Only maybe a small group are like say, no, I will never touch insect as a food. Yeah, but most people are actually open to trying, right? But I think it would take some time for people to get used to having it to be incorporated into their daily diet.
That means like let's say you eat nasi lemak instead of peanuts, they offer you crickets.
Yeah.
Old chunky lah, old chunky. You got baby squid, you got squid head, and you got the spiders.
Tarantula.
So I think Penang actually did try that. They have the Penang sago worm fried rice. Yeah, correct. So I think that's is starting there. I think maybe Johor Bahru also may have also started somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in the past, actually, there are some Singaporeans who actually travel to Malaysia to actually eat insects.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was in 1995, right? And the particular insect they go for was termites. Yeah. So apparently, if you eat the termites, right, you say, you can help to relieve your headaches or muscle aches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But
no,
they're
I don't think so.
small lah. They're tiny lah, right?
They're tiny.
So then for you, is it like inevitable that insects, it is going to be a big part of our diet in future? Or you think it's still one of those that will always be on the side kind of thing?
At this point in time, I wouldn't say it's a replacement, but it will be actually an alternative option for us. But maybe in the years to come, when it comes to, let's say, 2040 or 2050, right, we have to be prepared that you may have to be the one to replace our diet. Yeah, because as we know, the human population on Earth has reached the 8 billionth mark last August.
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to, as the years goes by, right, the human population will keep growing. Right. We're going to need more land, right, or let's say more spaces to grow our food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you reach 2050, we actually will know that we won't have enough land to feed all the different mouths on Earth. So we can't continue to grow chickens or your pigs or your beef, right?
Yeah.
So we need to have another ways to source out for our protein.
Okay.
And that will come from your insects.
And it's a lot more cost effective to farm also, right?
Less resources are actually needed to farm them. Yeah.
And there's, I think, less ethical issues also. Are there ethical issues around? Because, you know, like, that people talk about you're killing a cow. You know, you can have a bond with a cow. Insects, does that ever come up? Like, it's another living thing.
So far, no one really talk much about it, right? So, it's when it comes to like mammals and stuff, yeah, maybe there's some ethics involved. But when it comes to insects, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, but there might be people who are talking about it, about saying, you know, make sure that your insects live in a proper condition, right? Before you actually go ahead and kill them. Yeah, if you want to kill them, right? Make sure you kill them as fast as possible. Yeah.
So, but I mean, for you, like, given that you dedicated your life to studying insects, right, as a profession, and then the act of eating them is like you said, like, it's you have to kill them and basically treat them very differently from how you would be studying them. Like, how have you come to terms with these two almost like contradictory stances on?
I wouldn't say it's contradictory, but it also when it comes to, like, say, doing my research work also, right? Especially when it comes to invertebrate and insects itself. I think what thing is kind of overlooked is we call it like the necessary evil. So in comparison, right, you want to say study birds and or mammals, right, it's actually pretty much there is an ethic code to follow. Right, you make sure that, you know, there's no harm comes to these animals.
Yeah.
Right. But when it comes to insects itself, there's no ethics to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, correct. And in order for us to name a new species itself, right, they actually have to die. Because we need to dissect them, you know, to find out, okay, what part is different, whether we can actually name it as a new species and so on and so forth. So in a way, they kind of have to die for us. Yeah. So having to go through that itself, it's like, okay, it kind of like gotten used to it. Yeah.
Is there any talk about whether insects are considered vegetarian? No, right?
Like the act of eating insects is vegetarian.
Is it suitable for vegetarians?
Oh, I see.
No, I
right?
wouldn't say it's suitable for vegetarians.
Because it's still meat lah. It's still meat.
Because of the muscles inside. Yeah, so I guess
you're trying to think of new diet for
every
vegetarian
Tuesday. I'm like,
because he's vegetarian once a week, so it's always quite troublesome to find options.
It's
for him.
not okay. It is not troublesome, and he's just making a fuss out of it.
I guess if you want to say draw a better perspective, I think you just compare it to, like, say, eating your crabs or your prawns.
Oh, that's
you
true.
can't really eat prawns or crab, and then insects don't.
Okay, but so that's the thing. I was asking because, like, those people who do recreational diving, right? Of course, diving is it's a very beautiful act that allows you to immerse yourself in a whole other world of these animals and get up close and personal. But there's a very strong thing is, you cannot touch them. You cannot, like, don't even like touch the coral. Don't even come in contact with them and things like that, right? You can appreciate them from afar, but don't touch them and harm them and all that, right? So you're saying for insects right now there isn't that much of a even if you want to study them and all that, you don't have to think so much about the ethics of not, like, hurting the colony or anything like that yet.
So that's in general, but of course there will be some insects that will be they are endangered, they are rare. So those are the ones that we must make sure that we protect them. For like Israel or Singapore, we have the blue tarantula. Yeah. Right. So that one itself, like, if you cannot collect them.
Okay.
You cannot actually go away about killing them. So if you are caught killing, you'll be fined or maybe prison for it. Okay. Right. So there'll be certain cases, right, with those endangered ones. Those are the ones that are off. You can't really touch, right? So for others, maybe still can.
I see. So, but there's no, like, think of the perspective of the insect and how he's feeling and stuff like that. There's no discussion.
The stress, like, can the insect be stressed and all?
No, so far.
Okay. So as in that helps to solve some kind of like ethical leap when it comes to eating insects. Like people don't have to worry so much about ethical.
So you're saying about all those friends who tell you they are vegetarian because they love animals. Insects how?
Yeah, insects.
You love insects or not?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we go eat insects now, you know. Yeah.
But if you say I would say, when I say to my friends or say students, I say, you see insects, edible insects, right? See them as like, you're eating prawns or crab.
Okay.
The same perspective is pretty much, I think there's no change or regards to anything that could be conflicting in your mind.
Okay. Yeah, because I've thought about that. Like, okay, prawns, when they're very small, I don't feel anything when I eat them. But as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, then you've seen those mukbang videos online where they eat those giant crabs. Then I start to feel, it's very weird because they eat the flesh that's almost as thick as a baby's arm and everything, Then it starts to feel a bit strange to me. So I also struggling to think about why is it that the small one, okay, but then the moment it's a bit bigger, then I cannot already,
Because just now you mentioned that insects also have muscles, like similar kinds of muscles, or they're fundamentally different?
Similar kind of muscles. I mean, just muscles in general. Yeah, correct. Because anything for animals need to move, you need to have muscles. Yeah, so just call them muscles is pretty much the same.
And they have a circulation system, and they have a heart, and like it's similarly similar fundamentally.
Yes, correct.
So you're an advocate for eating insects, lah? Is it you consider yourself?
I wouldn't say I'm an advocate itself. Okay. Right. I just want to at least increase awareness. When it comes to edible insects, right? It's actually not so bad as a person might think. Right. Okay. I think the other part is also how is it actually in line with say food sustainability or Singapore's food security. Because I think this one is not really been broadcasted to the public yet.
Yeah.
Right. People know we have edible insects, but how it plays in sustainable movement is not really fully linked up. Yeah.
I see.
And just now you mentioned there was that cockroach milk thing, which is a separate thing. What is that?
Oh, okay. So I think there were actually a group of scientists who actually discovered, where can they source up a more potential nutritious kind of protein. Right. So usually, milk is kind of like a staple drink for some of the human population. So how can they actually go about, try to say, help people who are actually starving? So maybe get something more nutritious. And they actually discover, that this Pacific beetle cockroach, right, produces milk to feed its young ones. And they find that it's actually more nutritious compared to cow's milk.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. So they thought, okay, maybe let's try to see whether we can use biotechnology and replicate the same kind of milk so that we can feed the humans. Yeah. But at this point in time, it's still quite far-fetched.
Okay.
But we actually do have that Pacific beetle cockroach in Singapore too.
So you'll be first in line to try the cockroach milk.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. Even insects. Would you try eating insects?
I think I've eaten already.
Yeah.
But actually, just so when you go on social media, then you see this person who went to some restaurant, then they found one cockroach inside the dish or something like that, and then they make a big fuss about it. Are you like, please lah,
just
like,
eat?
What's the stigma? It's just normal.
So usually it comes to like say your hawker food or restaurant food, right? You see insect in there itself. Usually it will come to like say cockroaches or maybe say some beetles, right? So those in general, I would say, could be potential hygiene issues really.
Hygiene issues,
yeah, because I don't know, those are actually the pest types.
Yeah.
So that's, if it's a hygiene issue, okay, then you should really inform the shop itself, saying, hey, there's a potential problem with the food.
Okay.
Don't go ahead and start edible insects in Singapore, just start eating more. But you don't want to harm yourself in the long run or in the short term also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not against like the fact that when if you were reported a restaurant for having pests and all that, they might get shut down, and that's not an overreaction.
Not converted into like future thinking.
It's not progressive protein
we are
planning.
incorporating it now. Why wait till 2040?
So it's not an overreaction when the authorities shut down these places.
Yeah, correct. It's not an overreaction.
Okay.
Because you need to have a black and white, to know which ones are under the approved list and which ones are not. So that actually requires people to get an understanding, or at least know which ones are the bad ones, which ones are the good ones. Yeah. So at this point in time, I think in general most people would just assume, just kind of generalize that all insects are bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it will take a while for people to learn, how to know which ones are good, which ones are bad, right? How you see like animals, which ones are the good one, which one could be potential problems in the future. Like say our long-tail macaques, or sometimes in some cases also we're talking about the Oriental pied hornbill that coming to our residential estates.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, is there, just so you mentioned that you do the surveying, and you go into jungles and you try and like capture insects. Is there a dream place or dream forest in the world that you would like to one day go there and do that sort of surveying?
So actually, no, not any potential dream place. I think my dream would be, say, going to every single place and then just find all the different kind of insects. Pretty much, like how people who play Pokemon, right? When go to all the different areas and just fill up the entire Pokédex. So that's actually my main dream.
Like every forest in the world.
Yeah.
But specific to a rainforest or any kind of forest?
Anything. So as long as I can find all the different kind of insects, like document them, to catalog them, I'm good.
Has there been any one place that you have gone to that sticks out in your memory? Be it the thing you caught there or...
I think for now, at least the closest one is actually to go to Malaysia. Right, because there's a particular mantis that is part of my bucket list that I want to find.
So it really is like Pokemon.
Yeah, correct.
Like Pokemon.
Yeah. So that mantis itself is actually iridescent also. Right. So although we are very close to Malaysia, but this species is not found in Singapore. So that is something I'm very curious about. Why is it not found? Is it maybe because of the waters around that separates the land that could actually have caused that? So if you are able to find it itself, I think that would be another interesting discovery for Singapore.
Do you ever find yourself like, is an entomology and insects always on your mind? Like wherever you go? Or do you actively like switch off or switch on?
It's always, I think you could say it's on 24 hours.
On 24
hours. Yeah. So every time when I say do my work, or if I say I play games or do my own drawings, then I receive a message from someone, hey, can you help me identify this? Is this a potential problem? Is this going to be affecting my health? How do I get rid of it? I'm like, okay, let me find out for you.
Because you're that friend, is it your that friend?
That friend with expertise.
Yeah. Correct. So it's like once in a while I'll get that itself. Yeah, I just go online, like looking at, let's say, people who do urban farming, but they do encounter potential human-animal conflict, and that is actually the first time they see like insect coming to their say their vegetables or their fruits.
Oh, I see.
So they always say, let me get rid of it. But I just want to make sure aware, sometimes they could be killing potential helpers also.
Okay.
So like in terms of educating more young people about, the various things about, whether it's the food nutrition, food sustainability, or even just more interest in cockroaches, for example. Like what do you think we could do more of in Singapore, given that we are moving in that direction of, introducing food species like insects as food, and also now that there's like this buzz around the discovery you made and all, what can we do more in Singapore to get like people interested and not having just the misconception that all insects are dirty and scary and all that.
That one, I think I also always been thinking about how to go ahead with it. But I think the discovery of the new Pokemon cockroach, I think that's already our first good step already. So at least get people to know to draw in relation to the game.
Okay.
Correct. So at least something positive experience. Yeah. So I think it basically will have to start from young, right? So I guess usually in schools it's already more or less having to be kickstarted, get people to be interested in biodiversity, right? People do have, like, say, mini eco gardens in their school. So students get to know, that they draw a better relationship with the animals or the plants, flora and fauna. So from there, I guess they get an idea, that when it comes to animals, right, not all of them are bad. They get a better understanding, right? Because I think maybe say some of the older generation, right, they have a more distinct line, like, okay, this is humans, these are animals. So they cannot say, have a better positive experience with animals. So when it comes to animals, they always think as a potential conflict. But I think that is also understandable, right? Because in the past, they are farmers. Right, animals will come by, they destroy your crops, right, and lower down your profit. So they see animals as something that is, say, detrimental to them. But now at this stage, I think it's changing. So people get to know, say, hey, animals are actually, we have to coexist with them. So it's always start with educating, get to know about, being open. Okay, what is there out there? Right? How do they actually interact with us? Yeah. And don't be so quick to say, say you want to exterminate them or you want to alienate them.
Yeah. It's kind of like dogs, lah. Last time when we had kampongs, dogs is generally seen as like, annoying pests, or they just kick them around. So now last time we walk in the park and then people see dog, they, ang zang, or go away, dirty dog. Now you see people pushing prams with dogs and then wearing costumes in it. Do you think, do you envision at any point in time people be carrying around like their pet cockroaches with like little ribbons on them and then bringing them to school, show and tell and all?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think if you want to dress up insect itself, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But I guess potentially it could be, carrying them in like a container, like you go around with it itself. I think yeah, also like say in China, right, people are bringing out their aquarium fishes, their goldfish.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I've seen that.
I guess it's a
As in
possibility.
bring out when they go out, like bring a dog for a walk, they bring a goldfish for.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. I've seen
Oh shit.
a lot of different, more types of animals that people are bringing out for walks now. A lot of time birds, they put on the shoulder.
I think one long-term play would be training adults to not be so scared of cockroaches and insects. Because then, if I have a kid in future, I have to tell myself, don't freak out in front of a cockroach. If I don't want them to grow up scared, right?
Yeah, correct.
But it's still a hygiene issue if there are that many cockroaches.
But you don't need to like start freaking out and shouting and like trying to spray the shit out of it and all that.
Correct, yeah.
But, so one thing I wanted to ask is during say a pandemic like COVID, right? Because there was a lot of focus on like solving the disease and all. How did that impact the world of entomology? Did you find like because I know there is a lot of benefit to studying entomology, and even you always get people saying, why you study outer space? The world itself, there's so many problems, but you get a lot of benefit from there. But during the pandemic, was entomology affected in any way? Or was it prioritized, or was there anything from entomology that influenced things outside of entomology?
So far, not that I know of.
No.
Right? But maybe in a way, it helps the insect population at best. Right? Because people are confined at home, right? They don't go about interacting with the nature reserve or the forest.
I see.
So there's less impact on them, so they can grow. Yeah. But other than that, nothing else.
Your own research, your own practice and all, it didn't.
No.
But you couldn't go survey also lah.
Well, limited.
Limited.
It's limited.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the things that you'd be more concerned about are like the forests being cut down or like the underground tunnels being built below forests and stuff. That's the stuff that really affects biodiversity.
So whenever you see new BTO launch, you're like,
protest.
Clementi Forest.
Yeah, correct. So when the different forests are being cut down or being turned into residential estate or recreational facilities, first thought of mind, what new insects could be say exterminated or eradicated or even drove to extinction?
Oh man,
yeah.
Wow.
Because in those sort of cases when it's cleared, I mean, not the insects are not just going to move out, right?
No, yeah.
They'll just
and then it's the pest that all come in, right? The American cockroach and all
if,
that.
Say the insects is kind of adapted to the human areas itself, then maybe they can still survive. But chances are actually very unlikely also.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that means they will still leave the forest, but they won't survive.
Yeah.
Oh shit, so it's really bye-bye to all of them.
Yeah, it's goodbye.
Oh, man.
So that is why having to do our insect survey is very important for us entomologists, because we want to make sure that we document all these species so that in the future to come, we can actually tell our future children, we have this species before, but now you don't see it is because you could be actually staying on their land.
Oh.
Guilt trip the future generations.
So how long has your journey into entomology been?
How long? If I start from I have my first pet cockroach, I think it's almost nearly my whole life.
So I mean, in that sense, you're like one of the rare examples where you found your calling when you were young, and now you're just going full on at it.
Yeah, correct.
So do you love going to work and like?
Oh yeah, I do. If I stay at home, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm bored.
Oh really?
I need to go out there.
So if you're not surveying, then you're in where?
So I think if I'm not surveying, I think just be at home, right? Taking time off, like maybe do some drawings, play some games itself. Like Pokemon game would be one. Yeah. So that would be like my free time. But I still at the back of my mind will be like, what new species out there, what insect can be coming in, or maybe when I'm playing my game or doing my drawing, some insect might just fly into in my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, I was going to ask that sometimes when you see a cockroach fly into your house or something, do you like just stop there and just observe the beauty of how it flies and everything? Like, is there a moment where you're like just watching it?
Well, you say it's the American cockroach or the German cockroach itself, I think I'm like, okay, man, just kill it. But if you say if other insects come in, yeah, I mean, like, I'll observe it for a while.
Okay.
I get to see, anything different about it, whether is it something new for me. Yeah, then otherwise I'll just catch it and get a more deeper examination of it.
Got it.
Just now when you said drawings, it is specimen drawings lah.
No, not really. So what I do is in my free time, right? Because I kind of see how my work and Pokemon kind of merge, or I see in parallel. So what I do is actually for my drawings, I have like photos taken, and then I'll just draw Pokemon on them.
Oh.
So as if like, I'm actually having a Pokemon in the real world.
Oh.
It's just for my own hobby.
Interesting.
Shit.
Then how about things like when you watch Ant-Man and the Marvel movie?
Right.
Like, do you like, wow, that's amazing, they based it on this
Yes,
creature. So are you really observing the design of every character?
See, which species they actually inspired from,
or something,
whether is it done correctly or not.
Wow, that's amazing. This is like, wow, you're really like the Quantumania.
Yeah.
He really lives in that world. You're really observing all the animals in that world.
So then where do spiders fall under insects? Because they're arachnids, right? They're not insects.
So we just put them under arachnids itself, but people associate them as insects because I think when people talk about bugs itself, it just covers any creepy crawlies.
I see.
So just kind of like a much more general term, just insects is anything that has an exoskeleton, right? Jointed legs, right?
Yeah.
Insects. Then that's it. It's much more easier for, at least maybe for the younger people to understand what is what.
Is there any one insect that is your favorite insect that you think is the most amazing specimen? Besides cockroaches maybe.
Then I would say it comes to like say your termites. So I started off with my proper research is on termites, right? To see what kind of termites that we have here.
Yeah.
So in general, people always think, termites are your house destroyers, or they actually destroy your furniture.
Yeah.
But it's actually much more than that, right? So when it comes to insects, people always think they go about biting them. But I find out, some insects itself, or these termites, they have a different mechanism where they actually squirt sticky fluids. They have shooting guns on their head in order to defend their colony, right? So there are biting ones, there are those shooters, and then there's another one that's the punching one. So basically, they cause internal injuries to your attacking other attackers, right? So that they can defend the colony.
Wow.
So that actually kind of amazes me. It's like, this is kind of interesting, that there are different ways that termites actually go about defending their colony from...
They punch.
They punch. So how they punch is kind of a different... it's not really like saying a hand punching itself, right? So what they do is their mouth parts is actually designed to form like a punching gun or something like that.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So it snaps and then it actually causes internal injury to your attackers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So is there anything that the more you study insects, the more you learn about humans?
More I learn about humans.
Yeah, or the more it makes you relook humans. Whether you actually think, the human population is just like an insect population. Or anything just from going deeper into the insect world.
So far, no, I haven't drawn that relation so far.
No.
Yeah, correct. Let's see humans different entity from your insects. Yeah. So, but maybe in some cases, like say the engineering field, I guess they can actually draw inspiration on how insects, go about living their life, right? Then they can draw inspiration on how to build the environment for humans. Yeah.
Or I think there was that someone they engineered how to use spider legs. I think they attached a robot brain to spider legs that's able to lift stuff that's like way heavier than what you would typically think the spiders would be able to carry.
Oh, plus
Something
the
like that,
grip
right?
or something.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it?
yeah, because of the grip and the
Oh, yeah,
wing.
they use real spider legs,
Yeah,
right?
real spider
Yeah.
legs with a robot brain
Because of
attached,
the
right?
grip. Yeah, I think so.
correct.
There's some next level.
So I guess maybe the other interesting aspect when you say our HDB flats itself, they could actually be drawing inspiration on how termites build their mound. Once termites itself, Singapore is a very hot country, right? They really want to have a cool environment. So how do they invent their own air conditioning? So they have a specific design to do their termite mounds, their house. So in order for HDB flats, to have that same cooling system, they kind of like mimic, that particular system in the termite mounds.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Which is what?
So usually in a HDB flat, right, there'll be a certain channel, especially when it comes to the aircon. Right? So that channel itself, you notice, is kind of hollow all the way up itself.
Yeah.
Right? So this actually allows for hot air to rise. So when the hot air rises itself, it draws cool air from the surrounding. So it's very similar to your termite mounds also. All the activity of your termites, right, they could generate heat. So that will actually go channel into the central shaft. Right, and then as it goes up itself, it draws the cool air from the environment into the colony.
Wow. So do you think that when they designed it, it was also partially? I mean, it was inspired by what they understand about termite mounds.
Yep.
So as in the termites also have 2 room, 3 room, 4 room, bomb shelter,
BTO,
underground car park and all, is it?
BTO queue.
So different rooms itself for different activities. Like you have your nursery, you have the queen chamber.
Oh, so they do?
They have, and then they have the food growing field, so on and so forth. Yeah.
So how are they different from ants then, or very similar?
They're actually very similar. Very similar,
but different species.
Yeah.
Walao. So when you meet up with friends and all, like, or family and all, do they always ask you about your profession, or like it's more like they've heard enough and they don't want to hear anymore?
I'm not sure about don't want to hear anymore, but so far they just ask, what you're doing, anything interesting there? Okay, and then they move on to the next subject.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We were joking about this. I was half expecting you to bring your collection of cockroaches to our podcast and then showing us here.
I think that one is a bit of a potential hazard, in case like someone, if I say go travel on the MRT or on the bus itself, and then some kid accidentally opens it. I think that will cause a huge panic inside.
Yeah. But actually, just now, of all the species you mentioned just now, how come cockroach is never considered for eating?
Potentially they can. Potentially they can. But because there's always a negative connotation to cockroaches itself, right? So even you would say put it on like a menu, nobody's going to eat it. Unless they overcome that barrier of that fear.
I see.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've always also thought if there was a beetle that is the same size as a cockroach, I wouldn't be that scared. It's just a cockroach.
Yeah.
Something about the cockroach.
The size and the malleability and everything.
And the way it flies and... Wow. But that. So if people in Singapore wanted to find out more about the work you do, or like the diversity in Singapore's insect landscape, where can they go look for you? Or look for resources?
I mean, if they are interested to say maybe help out with your survey or your research work itself, right? There are different labs in NUS and as well as NTU, right? Each of them are working on a specific, say, topic or say specific group of insects or invertebrates. So like say for the museum, right? There we do have like internship or say shop job work attachment where people can actually learn about how the research work goes on behind the scenes.
So, but how do they like someone go to the museum and then they want to see your work or something that you've done in the museum lah? Is there any way for them to
No, I guess they can actually go about emailing me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on the museum website itself where you can actually email like the different creators to get information about the research work and or the collections.
And what's your email if you can share it here?
So it's NHM FOOM@nus.edu.sg.
NHM.
Yeah.
Natural
History Museum.
Okay. Yeah. And the rest was what again?
FOM. Yeah, FOM.
Surname is Fu, FOO, and M is his initial.
We can put that email in the description.
Yeah. You have how about social media? Do you use social media to promote the love of insects?
I would do it subtly. I do it subtly itself.
You won't post like a selfie with a cockroach, you know?
I do, but I don't like, make it like too obvious that in your face itself. Because I don't want people like suddenly just move away from the phone or drop their phone.
I see.
Yeah. So so my social media, especially like say Instagram, right? I show, in the case of like this, the work I do, right? And then I have some Pokemon aspect also. So it's like try to get something to count down any potential fear
Okay.
So at least from there, the Instagram, you can get to know, okay, these are the things that I encounter, what I do with them, right? And share some interesting facts about the insects that might be around us.
I see.
Do you have dreams of opening up a cockroach theme park in future or something?
No, I never had that.
But
that's actually a potential...
No, because you have cat cafes, you have dog cafes, you have...
cockroach cafe.
Yeah, cockroach cafe.
I think a cockroach cafe would be more of like time for Halloween season.
Oh boy.
People who get themselves frightened to death.
Yeah.
Wow,
cool, man.
Yeah, the business case for that one
a bit hard. Need to work on it. Need to
be massaged a little bit.
I need to be massaged a little bit before.
Cool, man. Thanks so much for sharing, man. Like, it's just so many questions answered. And I mean, now normally we end off with the one shock thing segment. Do you have a one shock thing? Or we can go first. And the one shock thing is just something to share with our audience, an article, a song, or anything.
Yeah.
So we can go first.
Yeah. Mine is a Netflix show that I've been watching recently called Siren. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a Korean reality TV show. So if you enjoyed Physical 100, you should enjoy this one. But the interesting thing that it's about, it's an island where 6 teams of women come together to fight to compete in various competitions. So it's a bit like, those last time, I don't know, JC or university orientation, then you have your different groups and then you all battle, play all these relay games to win points and all that. It's kind of like that with 6 teams. 6 teams of women, but the women each team is from a different profession. Like they are police, firefighters, stunt women, athletes, bodyguards, and one more, I can't remember already. Soldier, yeah. So each of them have like different skill sets that they bring, and then some of the things that they have to compete in are related to surviving outdoors and all. So it's actually if you enjoyed Physical 100, this is also quite exciting, and it does feature some of the people who competed in Physical 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does. The females, yeah.
But they are competing as a team, is it?
Competing as a team, and the idea is like they will do a battle every day, where they do some, whether it's cutting wood or whatever, they compete in that. Then at night, when the siren goes off, they have to go to each other's like bases and steal a flag.
Oh.
So there's the element of like stealing a flag, capture the flag, protect your own flag, and capture someone else's flag. Yeah.
Oh shit!
So it's interesting. It's I think Tristan, you watched it, right? Yeah. It's quite exciting. And some of the women there are really badass, Like I think Physical 100 made it look like, men surely are the most badass people because they won a lot of those competitions, right? But this one you really see like some of the firefighters and all that. They're
super
pretty
fit,
badass. Yeah, not about super fit. They just know their shit well, Yeah, know their shit. Yeah.
Wow, okay. My one shock thing is I recently started watching House of Dragon, finally. Finally. Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
No, I'm not.
Oh, no.
If not, he'll have to start like hunting down dragons also.
But I mean, so far I'm 1 episode in and I can already feel like, wow, this is definitely going to be something I'm excited to watch. And I thought that the actor, the guy from The Crown, who's like playing the uncle, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Excellent. Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah.
So I mean, and I went in with high expectations. And so far, I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. So recommend it. Yeah.
So for me, I would say, in the Netflix series, Love, Death, Robots. So the one episode that I always replay in my mind is called The Swarm. So I think it feels that it's a reflection of us human race, right? That we kind of see ourselves as being more intelligent compared to other animals. But actually, in fact, we should actually learn to coexist with the animals around us.
What was that story?
So basically what happened was that there is a so-called a colony, right? There's a queen. So there's one human that's being sent to the colony,
yeah,
right? And actually his main purpose there was not to actually study them, but actually learn to actually try to steal an egg from the colony. So that they can actually make use of the queen to create their own army. Yeah. But along the way itself, it actually triggered a certain action that actually the colony created their own intelligence. And then they found out, that these humans are actually trying to control them. And then they will actually think they should come up with a plan to actually create their own humans in order to combat and wipe out these humans that are coming to attack them.
Yeah, I remember that. that. That was trippy.
Oh, nice. And you always replay in your mind because...
I always replay in my mind because it's kind of very similar to how I see some of us humans, right?
Yeah.
We want to be the dominant species on Earth, right? So how I see is that the Earth is like the queen and the colony, right? With all the different animals, each of them has the different roles in the environment, right? And then us humans itself, we want to control everything.
Yeah.
But that is actually not possible.
Yeah.
Right? And actually, in a way, it also will be detrimental to us in the future. Yeah. If we want to be the one on top, we won't stay there for long.
There is that saying, right? If you kill off every insect, the world will perish in 50 years. If you kill off every human, the world will flourish in 50 years.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And then we often forget that like Homo sapiens as a species, actually we've been on this earth for such a short period of time compared to all of our history. So it is very humbling when you realize, we're only really that tiny little sliver and we've like screwed up the world so much already.
Yeah.
Right?
You say that now humbling, and you see a cockroach, you're like, fuck you, die.
It's a pest, it's a pest.
Yeah, I don't know which one is the pest itself and which one needs to be have a better control over.
Correct.
But yeah, wow.
Cool,
congratulations on all the work that you've done that has created this buzz and like even the fact that you're here talking about it and all, it tells you that there are a lot of people who are more interested in this field also. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Cool. And thanks for listening, everybody.